Majors on your left, John Cuvelier. Look at, oh boy, hair off.
Oh yeah.
This is a hair off. Who? Take your pick.
I don't know.
This is the best John's hair has ever looked. I've known John for like 10 years.
The beard adds such an extra dimension to it.
It does.
You know, it's hard. These tough decisions so early in the morning.
It's an underdog tale for me. I'm leaning with John. Normally, Major's hair wins easily wins. But I think John, we'll get another shot of him as they go to their sideboard. But we're going to pay attention to the match here for the moment. Oh, never mind. It's going to be tough to do now.
Yeah. It's also natural. You know, Major's kind of got that feathered look.
Yeah.
It's a little try hard, you know. Cuvelier over here, au natural.
John with an Edge champion to get things started here this morning. An Ornithopter, a Springleaf Drum, a Blinkmoth Nexus, and a Dark Citadel. Those are the permanents for him. For Michael Majors, it's just a boring old Cinderglade.
Edge champion, a swing card in this matchup. By itself, not doing a whole lot, but paired with cranial plating, a very fast clock that's challenging for Majors to interact with.
Heck, even a Ravager kind of moving all in and dumping some counters onto that thing. It'll be somewhat difficult for Majors, who's going to play a Sakura Tribelder. They're going to search up a land here with the Wooded Foothills. It'll be a basic mountain. We'll pass the turn back over to John. John will draw. Looks like he's picked up a copy of Thoughtcast. Haven't seen that one a ton.
4X.
Wow.
A little bit of a throwback.
What year is this?
Often Affinity decks can afford to have one color to spell in the deck. Sometimes you see Galvanic Blast. Sometimes you see Thoughtseize. Cuvelier this weekend on Thoughtcast instead.
Well, there is a Thoughtcast. That's an Inkmoth Nexus. However, I think John is going to attack here for 2 with the Edge Champion. I think what he's missing right now is just the payoff card.
Yep.
So we're talking Cranial Plating. We're talking Arcbound Ravager. Something really nice to do. Let's see what this is now. Okay, there's a Ravager, so he's doing all right. And looks like a Vault Scourge as well. So his hand is more or less empty at this point. He's got a Darksteel Citadel left over, and of course a draw step to take next turn. But the permanents are out there. Affinity doing what Affinity does, and now Majors is going to have to try to keep up.
Ton of artifacts on the battlefield here, and it wouldn't surprise me next turn, or in response to Majors playing some sort of removal or sweeper on his own turn, to see Cuvelier move a lot of his resources onto the Edge Champion. If he can maintain Metalcraft, but make it large enough that it's a significant clock, I think Cuvelier is well served to do that.
Majors will search for a mountain with the Sakura Tribelder. And he'll be taking his 3rd turn here in just a moment, but he is certainly under the gun at this stage in the game. Michael will draw. Let me see, I believe a Search for Tomorrow is the draw step. Now he does, I believe, have a copy of Anger of the Gods in hand. We know he has them in the main deck this weekend. 2 copies main, and then an additional one in the sideboard. Here is the Search for Tomorrow.
And Majors eschewing the Anger of the Gods for the time being, I think in part because it doesn't really do anything to the clock. Cuvelier can sacrifice all of his creatures to the Arcbound Ravager and then sacrifice the Ravager onto the Edge Champion, so it's not really disrupting the clock. And at that point, I think Majors is better served just trying to ramp into Primeval Titan as fast as possible.
There's Valakut. And that'll be Major's turn. Now, Major does have a Lightning Bolt in hand. He's playing 4 copies of that card this weekend as we head back to John, who picked up a Glimmer Void for the turn. So just lands here for Cuvelier, though one of them is an artifact land in Darksteel Citadel. See which land he does want to play, assuming he wants to play one this turn.
I would imagine Cuvelier is going to make some sort of move with the Ravager, sacrificing some of his lands at least, as Majors is threatening a Primeval Titan next turn, and Cuvelier really needs to get this game done inside of 2 turns.
It does make you wonder how he wants to go about using these Nexuses as well. He's got a Blinkmoth and an Inkmoth. I'm sure that Infect route is somewhat tempting, especially with a Ravager out there. And we're going to see him attack with plenty of permanents. Blinkmoth, Inkmoth, Edge Champion. He's going to start sacrificing artifacts. You had a feeling he would. Springleaf Drum down, Darksteel Citadel down.
Definitely the extraneous artifacts can go.
Ornithopter, that's extraneous. That's going to bite the dust as well. It's going to make Ravager into a 4-4. Another drum. All right, how about a 5-5? Is that Ravager still hungry? Maybe want to chomp on that Citadel?
Well, the risk is Majors has Lightning Bolt mana up. And Cuvelier still has this covered in 2 turns, the way the board looks. So there's no reason for him to take a risk.
It doesn't appear as though he's going to.
It's nice as a backup plan, though. For example, if Majors taps out for Primeval Titan next turn, that Nexus may be a route to victory that he can't generate through damage. But as it stands here, I think with the Ravager plus the Edge Champion plus his ability to maintain Metalcraft, Majors can't simply tap out for Primeval Titan or something along those lines. Cuvelier just has him covered on the way back.
Majors is 8, John at 19. And you do see a little bit of infect on Majors as well.
And I like that line last turn from Cuvelier quite a bit. Get rid of your trash, push the game into a 2-turn clock, but don't take any unnecessary risk by going for the kill that turn by moving the Ravager onto the Nexus.
Does Michael have a way out here? He looks like he's in some serious trouble right now.
And, you know, this is the compare-contrast we kind of talked about with this matchup, Affinity versus Elves. Majors had Lightning Bolt and Anger of the Gods in his hand the whole time this game. Those cards were excellent when he played against David Irvine yesterday. And here, it looks likely like he's just going to die with those cards in his hand.
Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of the difference of Affinity and Elves. You know, one of the things about Affinity, pretty resilient deck.
Yes. Very hard to pick this deck apart with just spot removal.
2 mana here. Majors is going to start with an Explorer. He'll draw a card, another copy of Anger of the Gods. The first one wasn't very good. I can't imagine the second one will be.
Is there a way for Majors to even keep up appearances at this point? I don't think there is.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I feel that way simply because John's turn is so simple. He's just, I'm going to attack you.
Yep. I mean, he has lethal on the table right now, so he doesn't really have to do anything. And any removal spell that Majors could respond with, Cuvelier has a bunch of tricks on the table because of Arcbound Ravager.
Thoughtcast the draw. The Glimmer Void will be the play. He will play the Thoughtcast. That'll resolve. 2 cards coming here for John. Cranial Plating, and I believe Mox Opal. Yes. I've seen worse draws.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, he still has the win on the table, but
yes.
This is good insurance.
Absolutely. I think that's going to go to the champ. Yeah, that's a good choice for the Cranial Plating. And it's time for the beatdowns. And Majors will scoop up his permanents as John Cuvelier is going to win game number 1 here over Michael Majors. Affinity very quickly up a game over Scapeship, but more importantly, the hair versus hair battle going to John so far.
Yeah. Au naturel. Not trying too hard.
We take a look here at the sideboards. We'll start with Michael Majors, who has 3 Obstinate Baloth, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Chalice of the Void, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Nature's Claim, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, a Sudden Shock, and Anger of the Gods. Plenty of good ones here for Michael.
Yeah, I think the Sudden Shock, the Anger of the Gods, the Nature's Claims, the Engineered Explosives, and certainly the Ancient Grudges are all positive here. Even though the sweepers looked pretty bad in that game, when he has enough spot removal and cards like Ancient Grudge to break up cards like Arcbound Ravager, then the sweepers become much more potent. So I think he wants to bring in a lot of this stuff.
Other side of things here for John Cuvelier, he's got 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Gearpow Aether Grid, 2 Spellskite, 2 Ancient Grudge of his own, 2 Spell Pierce, and some fun ofs in Tormod's Crypt, Grafdigger's Cage, another copy of Edge Champion. So good in that first game. A Galvanic Blast and a Blood Moon.
I think the extra copy of Edge Champion can come in here as he should anticipate a lot of removal coming in on Majors' side. I think the 2 copies of Thoughtseize perfect for this matchup. Majors is just accelerating into a few payoff cards, so Thoughtseize seems well positioned in this matchup. You could also possibly talk me into Spellskite here, as it's a reasonable anti-lightning bolt measure and can be disruptive to Valakut itself at times.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Some pretty good ones available to each of them. Michael Majors will be on the play, but as they do get ready for game number 2, let's talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale. It's almost over, folks, at Monday at 10:59 a.m. East Coast time, but it's a pretty good deal, so you might want to check it out.
Yeah, right now, 25% off all moderately played foils. You can go over to StarCityGames.com and check out the sale. Every Monday at 11 o'clock Eastern time, we post a new sale, so make sure to check back to the website once a week to see what is on sale. Right now, again, moderately played foils. Sale is running out. You got about 24 hours left, so head over to the website now and check out the deal on all these foils.
Can't forget as well that Kaladesh is coming out pretty soon, too. We'll have the pre-release next week, and then after that, of course, will be release week in Indianapolis, so definitely looking forward to that. And I'm curious to see what Michael Majors is going to bring to the table that weekend. The 25-year-old from Evans, Georgia, with his 5 open top 8s and 1 invitational top 8 in New Jersey a couple weeks ago. But a very innovative deck builder was one of the first people to find Temur Emerge in Standard, helped put Eldrazi on the map when we were playing 4 Ayavugans, 4 Eldrazi Temples, 4 Urborgs during, of course, Eldrazi Winter. And I have to imagine with this new set and all the crazy things you can do with vehicles and Planeswalkers and Fabricate, he's going to have a nice one for week 1.
I like the way that Majors goes about building decks because it's innovative without trying to do things for the sake of novelty. Yep. He's trying to identify the powerful cards or the powerful synergies, but also explores the entire card pool. So, deck builder to look out for.
Absolutely, and I think one of the nice things about Majors too is that he's willing to try anything. You know, we saw at the Invitational when he was playing Abzan. Most people would be playing Dark Confidant. He was playing Grim Flayer, obviously in combination with Lingering Souls. He said that was pretty good for him over the course of the weekend. Tried some different main deck cards like Nile Spellbomb and some other things to prepare for the tournament. So everything is open for him. There are no sacred cows in his deck building, which I think makes for an interesting thought experiments and eventually leads to some pretty good decks.
And possibly a little bit of a Brad Nelson influence on him. Brad Nelson does not care about what deck he plays in tournament, just wants to play what he believes the best deck to be. This is not a deck that I would have associated with Majors, but I think he just thinks it's well positioned for this weekend.
Yeah, normally playing Grixis. We see that quite a bit. We saw Abzan, as I mentioned, at the Invitational. I did not expect to see him playing this, that's for sure. But he's off to a fantastic start. He is 8-1 here. In great position to make the elimination rounds. And it looks like he's going to keep his opening hand. John will not. He will send it back. Not happy with what he's seen. So we'll see if the Affinity player can find a better 6 to work with. Affinity deck actually mulligans pretty well, though.
Yep, I mean, the big issue is, you know, you need one of your payoff cards. But if you do draw one of your payoff cards, almost any hand is functional.
Yeah. Ravager, Cranial Plating, some other playoff cards in the matchup. As these players do continue to get ready here for game number 2, we'll talk about what they're playing for here. Both off to great starts at 8-1. If they do make the elimination rounds, they'll be at the very least walking out of here with $500. Top 4 will give you $1,000. Finalists will get $2,000. And of course, first place is that $5,000, 30 SCG points, and an invite to our Atlanta Invitational later this year in December. Top 16, top 32, top 64, so on and so forth. Everyone looking for some SCG points, especially Michael, who's looking to qualify for that Players' Championship later this year.
And you can see, you know, the top 8 gets you to 15, the win gets you to 30. And if you looked at our Season 3 leaderboard, players right now in the top of the standings with, you know, 50 points, 40 points, make up a huge amount of the gap this weekend.
Yeah, things are very, very close here as we're in our third event of Season 3 of the SCG Tour. Indianapolis 2 weeks from now. We'll certainly go over that schedule a little bit later today as John is taking a mulligan down to 5. Majors trying to tie things up here in the hair versus hair battle.
But down. Not by much.
Down right now. Down right now.
Maybe looking to even it up here.
Now, I've talked to Mike a little bit. Facial hair he can't really do, so I think John just kind of gets an edge.
Well, Majors has a kind of a perpetual, at 5 o'clock shadow is too strong for it, but a little bit of scruff.
Like a 3 o'clock shadow?
Yeah, something like that.
Is that a thing?
But again, it's scruff but with intent.
Oh, I like that. You can market that.
Paired with the feathered hair. It's all part of the, you know.
Fun fact about Michael Majors. He gets
They're all fun facts.
That's true. He gets his haircut in Georgia.
Okay. He goes back to Georgia?
Yeah. He'll only get his haircut in Georgia from the one barber.
I imagine that Majors goes to a stylist.
Maybe.
I don't necessarily believe barber.
Okay. There's a search for tomorrow on Suspend. He's got one guy. Whenever he heads back to Evans to go see the family, he gives him a call and he says, I'm going to be in town. Need to get an appointment set up if you don't mind.
Is it a house call sort of arrangement? Does this person come to the Majors residence?
I don't know all the details.
Sounds like you know a lot of them.
I was surprised. I was surprised by this. I realized. Here's a springleaf drum. We're going to head back over to Michael now. Search tomorrow is going to go down to 1 counter on Suspend. Majors will play a Mountain. I think we might see a Tri-Belter. We do, and he's off to a great start this game as we head back over to John Cuvelier.
And I believe Majors with some lands and a Primeval Titan, so unless Cuvelier has one of his sideboarded Thought Seizes or something goes really wrong here somehow, I think we might be very quickly going to game number 3.
How about a Memnite instead?
It's a good follow-up.
Yep. Here's an Inkmoth Nexus.
Want to let him know you're not going down easy.
Blinkmoth Nexus will go active. There are 3 artifacts on the battlefield. So, here's a Thoughtcast. Not the most exciting of turns here from John, but again, he is on a mulligan to 5. Cranial Plating and Seal Overture were the draws. Those are good Magic cards.
I don't know if we're going to have that kind of time.
I'm not sure we will.
We'll find out.
Majors will sacrifice the Secure Tribe Elder. He's also going to search tomorrow as well. Just a little bit of shortcutting here from Michael as he begins to take his third turn of the game. Basic Mountain and Basic Mountain. One from Search, one from Tribe Elder. Of course, sacrificing the Tribe Elder at the end of John's end step, then resolving the suspended Search tomorrow at the beginning of his turn. And this will be Majors' third turn, and he's already got 4 mana. Going to be going to 5 here momentarily. The draw was a copy of Primeval Titan. There's a Cinderglade. Majors will follow up with another copy of Sakura Tribe Elder. And he'll simply pass the turn back. Back to John we go. He'll draw. Didn't get a great look. Okay, it looks like it's a Ravager. All right, so he's got all the payoffs in the world, but can he beat the Titan and the Valakuts? That's the question. He's a little slow out of the gate this game.
If Majors was on a bunch of removal this game, if he just had his Engineer Explosives and Anger of the Gods, I think Cuvelier actually might be in a really good position, but I don't think his hand is really equipped to handle a Primeval Titan coming out this fast.
There's another copy of Blink Moth next. There's 2 of those to just 1 Ink Moth on the battlefield here for John. There's Ravager. Memnite's going to assist the Springleaf Drum for the Steel Overseer. Now just going to pass the turn back. So that's a setup turn. The big turn comes after that. Majors, no interest in sacrificing the Secure Tribe Elder right now, which I like a lot, actually.
I like that play quite a bit. So with Primeval Titan entering the battlefield here, he has 6 mountains already in play. I imagine he's going to get 2 copies of Valakut. Now the Secure Tribe Elder essentially allows him to sacrifice it at instant speed to get 2 copies of Lightning Bolt.
We're going to see Valakut plus Stomping Ground on this one.
If he feels the immediacy to take care of the Steel Overseer, then that's fine.
Sure.
Point being that he wants to leave the Secure Tribe Elder in play because he knew that he was going to be able to enable Valakut anyway via the Primeval Titan trigger, so you might as well keep the Tribe Elder in play as a chump blocker plus an instant speed Lightning Bolt.
Tribe Elder has a lot of value right now.
Scapeshift plays a lot at sorcery speed. It's a lot of creatures and sorceries, and Valakut triggers off of land drops. So anytime that you can keep the Secure Tribe Elders in play, you can keep your fetch lands available, that allows you to play a little bit of an instant speed game that sometimes this deck struggles to play.
Well, it's playing it pretty well right now as we head back John's way. And John's going to have one heck of a turn here because he's staring down the Primeval Titan. That's looking to get a lot of mountains and Valakuts to deal a lot of damage in various places. Looks like John Straw may have been a copy of Master of Ethereum, but I think he knows, yeah, he's beat. He can't beat the Primeval Titan here in combination with the Valakuts and the instant speed activation of a Valakut off the Secure Tribe Elder. So Michael Major's going to tie things up here against John Cuvelier. Scapeshift, Affinity, hair versus hair, going to game number 3.
And that's why sitting on that Secure Tribe Elder was critical there for Majors, because if he sacks it and then casts the Primeval Titan and says go, it's possible Cuvelier has a route with the Inkmoth Nexus plus either Arcbound Ravager or Cranial Plating to kill him out of nowhere. That line of play was cut off because Majors had the ability to get a Lightning Bolt at instant speed. So that Secure Tribe Elder play, not trivial.
You see the sideboards here for each player. We had a feeling Thoughtseize might be coming in for John. He's on the play now. John's got a full idea of exactly what Majors is up to, so Thoughtseize is looking pretty good here.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's only so many payoff cards in Majors' deck, and if Cuvelier is able to strip out the Primeval Titan, the Summoning Pact, or the Scapeshift, that backed up by a turn 4 kill, which his deck does pretty reliably, not easy for Majors to overcome.
Michael, of course, with Ancient Grudge in the sideboard here for this particular matchup. Engineered Explosives has some value, as is Nature's Claim. So we'll see the combination of those cards in here for Majors. Both players kind of changing some things around a little bit. So while they do that, we'll take a look at the schedule for Season 3 of the SCG Tour. The New Jersey Invitational was won by Liam Lonergan. So again, congratulations to Liam and his Elf token. That will be seen quite a bit on the SCG Tour and at orders at StarCityGames.com. We'll also see him at the Players' Championship. Richmond, a couple weeks ago, was won by Ted Felicetti. A dominant performance, winning with Bant Company, the boogeyman of the previous standard format. Good to see that deck go. And now we're here in Orlando, where we'll crown a champion soon enough. And then 2 weeks from now, Indy.
Week 1 is Standard. Cannot wait in Indianapolis. We're off for a week, and then October 15th, the regional championships. You can go over to go.starcgames.com/regionals for more information. Find the regional championships closest to you. Then Milwaukee for Modern, and then we close out Season 3 in Baltimore, Columbus, and Knoxville. And then the Season 3 Invitational in Atlanta, Georgia, December 2nd through the 4th, Standard and Modern as the invitational formats.
Now, we talk playmats here on the SCG Tour, of course, so when you do sign up for a Standard, Open, or Classic, it'll be the Dark Salvation playmat that you'll be receiving free and exclusive, courtesy of StarCityGames.com. After that, if you do a little Modern action like our players in the main event, how about Steel Overseer, a card that John is playing to a lot of success this weekend? And for you Legacy aficionados out there, you'll be spinning the top like Joe Lissette. It'll be Sensei's Divining Top again. These playmats are free, exclusive playmats with entry into any Season 3 Open or Classic to the corresponding format as we get ready here for game number 3 between Michael Majors and John Cuvelier. It's Scape Shift on one side, Affinity on the other. But again, most importantly, it's for hair supremacy. And I'm still in the John camp. So here's the difference. You ready? One thing that I've always wanted to be able to do is be able to kind of throw my head back and my hair go places.
Okay.
Which I naturally don't have.
Not afforded to you.
Not afforded to me. John's got that.
Not afforded to me either.
That's true. John's got that in spades right now.
Yeah.
John could do a hair commercial.
Right. Like if there was a fan and he was just shaking his head back and forth. Yeah.
Michael's he's not afforded that luxury, I don't think.
Yeah. Majors needs to do more of the running my fingers through the hair shot.
While in the tank?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. While figuring out which mountain to get with his Primeval Titan.
Right.
A lot of that.
He has referred to his deck over the course of this weekend as a mountain deck. When I asked him what happened in his round, he said, I put a lot of mountains into play.
Yeah. It's a good strategy. Inkmoth Nexus, a Vault Scourge, a Memnite, as John's going to fall down to 18 in game number 3 underway here between Cuvelier and Majors. Majors with 2 copies of Anger of the Gods and a Lightning Bolt in hand. So he's got some interaction. Also has a copy of Search Tomorrow to kick the game off with if you'd like. But as we've discussed with Michael, do you want to search on turn 1 or do you want a Lightning Bolt on turn 1?
And complicating this issue further is the fact that Cuvelier has shown Thoughtcast in his deck. So there is some incentive here for Majors to try to keep him off of Metalcraft or Affinity early on in the game with very little information.
A difficult decision to be sure if you think about maybe how the turns will play out. If you suspend Search Tomorrow on turn number 1, turn number 2 it ticks down to 1 counter, turn number 3 you resolve the search, and then you've got 4 mana on turn 3, so maybe that's your Anger of the Gods plus Lightning Bolt turn, you know? But he's just going to play a mountain and pass the turn back.
It's not like Search for Tomorrow gets him to Anger of the Gods ahead of schedule, assuming that he already has the 3 lands. So he can take 1 turn off and not really break up his curve if his plan right now is to play Anger of the Gods on the 3rd turn.
Here come the beatdowns. This is a Lightning Bolt at Vault Scourge. Vault Scourge down. Memnite deal 1, Major's going to fall down to 19. We'll see what the follow-up is here for John. It'll be an Archbound Ravager. Let's head back over to Michael Majors, who picks up a Forest for the turn. Does he have another Lightning Bolt, perhaps? It looks like he does. Okay, so he's going to target the Ravager.
Because Majors' deck plays so much at sorcery speed, it's very dangerous to allow Cuvelier to untap with the Archbound Ravager and move it on to the Nexus. So breaking up that line of play really important.
Major's just going to play a copy of Windswept Heath and simply pass the turn back. I thought we might see a little suspension there of Search Tomorrow, but no interest.
Well, he's at the spot where he can hardcast it next turn if he wants to.
This is true.
He wants to get as many mountains as possible while preserving his life total. So fetching for a forest is not great because it's disruptive to Valakut, and fetching for an untapped Stomping Ground is problematic because it's 2 damage. So if he can afford to not do either of those things, I think he's better served waiting the 1 turn.
Memnite, Ravager, and pass the turn is what Cuvelier will do. Major's in a little bit of trouble now. That second Ravager is going to cause some issues, I think.
No, this is really problematic, especially with Cuvelier having the mana up. So even if Majors cast Anger of the Gods, Cuvelier can move everything onto the Inkmoth Nexus, which is already the line of play that Majors doesn't have a great answer to in the sideboard outside of his Ancient Grudges. Although I believe he has Nature's Claim in hand as well.
Okay. Stomping Ground is the land that Michael will search for. And he will present the deck over to John here in just a moment and take his third turn of the game.
Ravager essentially needs you to +1 everything removal related. So if he has a sweeper plus a spot removal spell, now he's drawn Lightning Bolt as well, he may be able to work his way around the Ravager. But Ravager is very effective against someone with only one piece of removal or one sweeper.
Things start to get a little bit interesting now. Majors just have a basic forest in hand, plays 3 of those in his main deck. Michael will play a forest. He will suspend search tomorrow. Okay. That's that turn back.
So I think Majors wants to take a line of play where he gets to do 2 things in one turn to try to blunt the impact of the Arcbound Ravager.
Okay.
If he can cast Anger of the Gods and Lightning Bolt or Nature's Claim in the same spot, he can probably break up Cuvier's board and also kill the thing where the Ravager counters go onto. If he casts Anger of the Gods right now, then he leads himself for a big hit on the way back. So you might as well take this, allow Cuvier to develop more to the board, and hopefully your Nature's Claim plus Anger of the Gods next turn can take care of everything. Fighting through a Ravager over the course of 2 turns is a recipe for bad things to happen. You want to do everything at once if you can. And if Majors has the 4th land drop in hand, he can hold up Lightning Bolt right now, so there's no way for Cuvier to move everything onto the Nexus, for example. That's probably a more conservative line of play.
Looks like another Inkmoth Nexus here for John. He'll fire up a Blinkmoth Nexus now. Will he fire up any other Nexus? It looks like the answer is yes. So Inky and Blinky, they've been fired up. A little game of Pac-Man here as everyone's going to come into the red zone.
I don't know if I know the reference.
The ghosts are names.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Come on, man.
And Pac-Man is more of my generation than yours.
Yeah.
So that's embarrassing, but I didn't have it.
I'm going to let it go.
Okay.
They're more of blobs than ghosts.
Sure. I believe you and I are on the Gen X versus millennial line, right?
We're like directly on the line.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's something I definitely should have had.
Yeah. Pretty healthy attack here from John, but not, a ton of damage. Major's going to take that damage. I believe he's going to fall down to 12, then 1 Infect. Now here's a Lightning Bolt. Hiya! Arcbound Ravager. Actually, Major's going to fall down to 11, excuse me. I like this. This is very much like playing against Infect. Don't do it in combat. Do it post-combat.
And now with Cuvier tapped out, means there's only so much that he can really do in terms of moving things onto the Nexus, unless he's willing to preemptively do everything now. And at that point, the Nature's Claim that Major has as backup answers that. So if Cuvier does very little here, the Anger of the Gods is excellent, and if he makes an aggressive line of play, the fact that there is a Shatter left over in Major's hand is perfect.
I think Majors has developed a pretty nice game here.
I still don't know if he has a payoff card.
That I don't know either.
And he's not going to be able to answer everything because Cuvier has so many lands that are productive. So there's still some pressure on him to get to a payoff card as soon as possible. But in terms of managing Cuvier's board, I think Majors has found a line of play and has the cards available to prevent disaster, at least in the short term.
Well, it looks like John's going to make a move here. So, sacrifice the Darksteel Citadel. Ravager has 2 counters now. Sacrifice a Memnite. Ravager has 3 counters now. And sacrifice a Blinkmoth Nexus. Ravager has 4 counters. Now, maybe. That sacrifice looks to be on the stack. Michael would like to make a move. There's a 4th Lightning Bolt. Jeez.
Well, Cuvier cannot keep up with all of this, so I imagine at this point the Ravager is just going to be moving the counters over to either the Bimnite or the Nexus.
Do want to apologize. Thought that at least one of those was an Anger of the Gods.
Oh.
At some point. They do look a little bit similar. The game takes a much different turn if it's all Lightning Bolts. All right, so now Inkmoth Nexus has a bunch of counters on it, but as you did mention, it's the fact that Michael has a Nature's Claim that is so good for him right now.
Yep.
Search Tomorrow is going to suspend down to 1. Michael looks like he's just drawn an Explorer, so he will cast it. Draw a card. Picked up a copy of Scape Shift. He'll play a Wooded Foothills and simply pass the turn back. Over to John we go. Going to fire Pink Moth Nexus. Nature's Claim is going to take care of that. All Cuvelier can do is shrug his shoulders and say, 4 bolts in Nature's Claim, huh?
Well, this is the sideboard plan. I mean, Matrix has a lot of 1 and 2 mana removal post-board. He hasn't even found one of his Ancient Grudges yet. So Matrix has gotten to Scape Shift. So there is a plan here, but still a little ways away in terms of mana. The benefit of this spot is his deck is very much just mana and payoff cards. Not a whole lot of bad draws from here. And he's under very little pressure.
He'll draw, Anger of the Gods, pass the turn back. So we're going to do a little bit of this action right now, I think. A little bit of draw go from each player. Here's a Springleaf Drum from John. Let's go back over to Michael. Michael, I think, has drawn another copy of Anger of the Gods.
Oddly enough, some of his very few bad draws.
Yep. Here's a Signal Pest. The follow-up is another Springleaf Drum. Wooded Foothills, the draw. We might see the Anger. Yep, got nothing better to do with it.
Yeah, no reason to get risky or greedy at this point. All Matrix needs to do is keep his head above water and get to Scape Shift.
Blink Moth Nexus, the draw for John. He'll play that, get in with Inky. Majors will go up to 2 Infect. It's a long road here for Cuvelier as Majors takes a draw step. He'll just pass that turn back. Let's go back over to John. I think he may have picked up a copy of Signal Pest. There is Signal Pest. Here is Blink Moth Nexus. A little bit of both sides.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose he might want to change it up a little bit because of the pest now. Let's see what we have here. Explore. Draw a card. Picked up a Stomping Ground. Major's, I think, very smart leaving the fetch lands on the battlefield in case he picks up a copy of Valakut.
On top of that, there's no reason to take the points of damage if he doesn't have to. If he casts Scape Shift, then he can just sacrifice those if he wants to.
Yeah, and those aren't mountains that he's sacrificing. Those are just fetch lands that he's throwing away.
He's also happy to draw lands because he has Scape Shift in hand, so he doesn't want to thin lands out of his deck also.
That's a Stomping Ground that's going to be the battlefield tapped. And Michael is going to sacrifice 2 Foothills, and it looks like we might see a Scape Shift here.
So Major's going to get the forests out of his deck here because he doesn't want to draw those anymore.
So what I think we might see here, this will be a little interesting how he wants to go about doing this, because I think this could be like one Scape Shift into a second Scape Shift. Maybe like kill the Signal Pest, deal you a bunch of damage, and then the next Scape Shift the next turn should be able to finish it, but it depends on how many mountains, how many lands he wants to sacrifice, all that stuff, and that's why you see him kind of taking a look at the graveyard, taking a look at the battlefield, and figuring out exactly what he wants to do here. He's got plenty of mountains in his deck, just does he have enough to do it for 2 Scape Shifts is the question, while also leaving himself with enough green mana. And this is where the addition of Cinderglade really comes into play.
Yep. When these lands got previewed, I think Matthias Hunt was the first one to mention to me, this is going to be a big deal for Valakut strategies because they just need as many dual lands that with a loaded land type as possible.
Welcome to round number 2. You guys have 50 minutes. You may begin.
Major's going through the deck, making sure that he doesn't make any type of error here. So there are all the mountains, and now there's a Valakut. So 6 mountains, which means 1 trigger to Signal Pest, the other 5 to John. So John's going to take 15. Now, of course, the big question is how many mountains Michael got left to work with?
Yeah, well, we got to make the count here. We got 2 Stomping Ground, 4 Cinderglade, 7 Mountain. So 13. I don't think there's enough in the deck for him to be able to run this back a second time.
Cranial Plating the draw. Pass the turn back. Well, Major shows him Scape Shift.
I suppose he doesn't need to have all the mountains in the world.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he just needs to have
3.
Just 3 left. And Cuvelier says, all right, you got to show it to me.
Yep. You better, don't miscount. Yeah, it's a good time to count. Make sure you know your deck list. That's exactly what he's doing. Can he confidently cast this Scape Shift? 5 mana. Okay, so there's Scape Shift. It's always kind of the uneasy feeling when playing this deck. It's just like,
Yeah.
I think I know how many mountains I have left in my deck.
So 4 in the graveyard plus 6 on the battlefield gets us to 10. And he needs to have, so he needs 14 total, and he has 13 in the deck by my count.
Well, it's 3 more shots right now, right?
Yeah, he can sacrifice 3.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I think he knows.
All right.
I think he got it exactly right.
So that's 1. That's 2. Oh, a sudden shock. That's fun.
Hold up. Hold up.
Oh, dear. Oh, I think.
Hey, all
okay,
right.
there's a Cinder Glade.
Hurrah!
And there's 9 up the stairs. That's going to do it. Michael Major's going to win this match here over John Cuvelier. Scape Shift will take down Infinity 2-1. But for my money, John Cuvelier won the hair versus hair battle.